This is a clip from the Red Cow Arcade podcast.
Big Ryan and Mike, they have a podcast. I don't know if you know that. It's called Talk About Games. They used to have a show on Cinemassacre called Talk About Games. They always, it was just kind of like a nerdy show, but it was at least like if you subbed Cinemassacre because you're a big video game fan, these guys brought you the video game content that James could never bring you. And anyway, they actually have a show and it's on its own channel, and which is odd. They have a Patreon, but James always refused to do Patreon. The whole thing's really strange because it's still a Screenwave show. Mike's on it. They shoot in the same podcast studio as the Cinemassacre studio.
Oh, really?
But Mike will. But it's like, okay, clearly Mike has no issue with James because they like did a stream together recently and they seem to have fun. He clearly has no issue with Screenwave because he's on a Screenwave show. He's in the same podcast studio. He seems to have a problem with Cinemassacre. He won't appear on the Cinemassacre
really
channel. He doesn't want to be part of that business, initiative with James anymore. Something like that.
I don't know what that is.
But he'll get real close. But anyway.
Do you want to talk? Have you seen the final part of the nerd episode?
Oh yeah, we can talk about that. Yes, I saw it.
I don't have like a ton to say about it.
Yeah, well, I have notes. AVGN 200 plus 3. My first note is whatever. We could end that there. Again, you know what? It ends the way I thought, the way it started, where I was like this idea of like acquiring LJN, and then I guess this is where it was going. Was then he accidentally makes a shitty game, and shitty games.
No, I don't think that's a terribly bad premise.
Right.
I think that's a fine way to go. I just think that it's joyless.
Yeah. Oh, there was a couple of like little filmmaking things that were pretty good. Like when his face pops up in the Rampage arcade machine and his arcade went up when he goes like,
yeah.
I actually thought that looked really good. And it was
it was pretty fun.
He had one performance moment that was almost like my parody of him. It was so over the top. When he goes, I'm a shitload of fuck! I'm a shitload of fuck!
Oh yeah, I did kind of like I'm the angry video game nerd.
Yeah.
That was
kind of funny. But when he yelled, I'm a shitload of fuck! He like really went for it, like almost like a Rich Evans kind of wail.
Yeah.
That made me laugh a little. They insist that he wrote these.
Well, any time that I had like a little chuckle was like any glimmer of like there was one of the World Wrestling games where he's got the steel chair in the wrestling game. He's like, come over here. I want to hit you. Yeah. I don't know. There was some playfulness there that reminded me of old nerd, and I think whenever it's that, it feels a little genuine. I think I said that last time.
It really is just missing Mike Matei. I mean, honest to God, it's like if you watch that guy stream, it's like watching a nerd episode getting slowly written by somebody who can't perform it. That's what you're watching. And then James was always the right person to perform it. Some things exist in good teams, and I think that was the team. And
yeah.
But he's got to call it quits now, right? Like now's the time. Like this.
No, of course not. They're gonna do 201. It's gonna be.
Like I feel like when you're trying to do high volume stuff, it's sort of to like call it done. So like, why go through the whole LJN library if you're trying to milk this thing?
I mean, I'm not James Rolfe. I don't know what he thinks, but. If I am somebody who enjoys James Rolfe, this is what I would want. I would want him to play a game, and I want to hear his actual thoughts on it. And it could just be all voiceover and footage of Dark Souls or whatever. It doesn't even have to be retro games.
But that's never what AVGN was.
It doesn't matter. I want something different. I want something new.
I had the hat.
And it can be as lazy as we want.
The hats off guy actually sent me this link to an Opie and Anthony interview that James was on in like 2006 or something. It was right when things took off, and they were like, "Hey, you know, you're reviewing all these games we forgot all about, and yeah, how about that Top Gun game, huh? You can't land the plane, ha ha ha! Like, wow, that Power Glove, you must have found that in a ditch." It was all obvious that like the retro game scene was a totally different thing. Everybody forgot about these old games completely. The novelty, truly, the reason he was so popular was because he was one of the first people on the internet to be like, remember this and let's have a good laugh about it. You know, that's been done for a long time. And he's not the right, to me, he's not the right guy to give color commentary about video games. Like,
yeah, maybe I don't know. I think he should do what he wants to do.
You need 22-year-olds who have no children and they have nothing to do but obsess over the new Dark Souls to like, you know, they've got nothing but time to waste, and the people who are watching have nothing but time to waste, and it's all a big time waste. It's a young man's game.
It is but what is James? I want to know what James Rolfe does though. What does he do?
Rex Viper.
Okay, you know what? I've said it before. I'm all for it. If he wants to put his whole heart and soul into it, I think
he should maybe get away from the video game covers then and the 80s covers and stuff, because he's obviously trying to play music that will appeal to his demographic. Like, is it time to like write some original songs, get a real band together, get away from these green screens? I don't know. I think he just wants to spend time with his kids, man. Like, I do too, but I also still have this like creative thing that I gotta act out and express.
Well, yeah, maybe maybe he does feel like he needs to be productive in something, and this is the only way he knows how.
Well, yeah, and it's literally his job, as we know.
Yeah, so maybe he's not even trapped by it. Maybe this is just he's performing it because he has to, you know, in his brain.
Oh, I'm sure he feels like he has to. I'm sure it's
like I don't think I'm not even sure if he's, you know, pained by it. You know, it's like, do you want me to suffer and all that? But yeah. I think he still enjoys it. I do, and in some part of it, he still. No,
I think you're right. I think he went probably like circa 2016. I think he went, you know, after his movie, and I think he probably did go through some kind of a creative crisis where he was like, "What's next?" And then I think at some point, as his children got a little bit older, he probably was like, "Well, I don't know. This is my job, and it's a cool job, and why don't I just accept it as a job?"
I can do green screen surfing. Nerd is the word, and it's fine.
Sure.
Surfing nerd!
Subscribe to Red Cow Entertainment on Patreon for full episodes every other week.